All right, time for a nice portfolio update. I'll start by looking at the DXY, then the metals, then the actual GDX, GDXJ, and then I'll look at the portfolio as per usual. So starting with the DXY, it was a down day on Friday, closed near low of day. It was the worst close in several trading days, nothing really too dramatic. For me, the uptrend is not changed until we close below this ascending line. And for me, obviously, you can have a rough ascending line, so nothing too precise. But for me, I mean, if you close below 105.5, then you've broken the uptrend that has lasted weeks, really weeks. So there should be a small bounce at least. But I have the feeling that it's time for a bigger correction. It's a bit like oil. Oil rallied from 65. I'm not going to bring the chart up. I cover videos on oil regularly, but oil rallied from like mid 60s all the way to 95. Huge move. That's almost 50%. It's like 40% move or something. And it's a bit like this, just ascending, steep ascending. And I think we're due for a small correction. To be honest, oil did correct all the way back down to 85. Something I did actually think would happen. So I think dollar might do the same thing. I think we might come back down to 104.5. So Monday, small bounce. By the way, this Israel-Palestinian thing, usually dollar should rally with that, along with gold, by the way, but that's not something that lasts. I mean, war is always a sort of temporary boost to this safe haven asset. So there may be a small bounce, but I think that we will actually close below ascending and actually come back down here. So just to keep it simple, ascending is support, resistance is the previous high all the way up here, 107 point whatever, 3. And I think DXY will have a tough time breaking out even higher. I just feel like it's time to correct a bit more. So that's dollar. Let's move on to actual gold and silver. So gold, nice reversal, right? It looked like it was bottoming. Obviously, this was support, horizontal support from back here. We knew 1800 or just above 1800 was supposed to be support. That's exactly what happens. Several trading days, 3, 4. We should bounce. For me, first resistance is, even though it's not obvious, 160-ish, just because it was over here. And, it did actually bounce on that one day, but then it just flushed. That was a very dramatic flush. So I think 1860 should be small resistance, but obviously very strong resistance all the way up here, 1880. I don't know what this Israeli-Palestinian thing will do when the market's open, but I think gold is ready to rally despite it, in the absence of it. So maybe we do actually go all the way up to 1880, not on Monday. But if we do, and by the time it happens, that should be selling point. And to be honest, if we do get to 1880, there may be a slight dramatic push higher, but 1900, by the time it gets there, should equal descending resistance. So I think 1860, 1880/1900, very strong resistance at 1900. So that's on the way up. Obviously, these are big moves up. So that would be good if it happens. Support, obviously, prior support, just 1810-ish. And if we flush 8, which I don't think we'll do next week at all, by the way, but if we do, then this little horizontal line over here, which is clear, resistance here, support over here. And by the time it gets there, ascending support, pretty strong stuff, very long term. So 17, I can't believe I'm saying these numbers, but 1740-ish, and it'll probably rally a bit above because it'll be such strong support. Should be very, very strong. So if we do flush 1800, 1740, 1750 probably by then. So those are the ascending and the support and resistance. Let's take a look at silver. Silver, similarly, right? So bounce just as gold did, makes sense. Strong move up there on Friday, which makes sense. It usually moves stronger than gold on the way up and on the way down. So resistance 22, psychological number. Also this support over here, this horizontal, let's extend it so it's clearer, something like that. So 22, and if it goes higher, this little prior, remember this was very, very strong, right? And it held very well here, even when gold was going down. But then on that dramatic day where, I mean, look at this, it was all the way up here. That's absolutely wild. Very rare to see candles like that. But if we do rally all the way up, then watch for the resistance of this ascending prior support, which probably by then will be 22, I don't know, 50, or just below. So horizontal and ascending should be resistance on the way up. If we go higher, to be honest, then this becomes support. Ascending becomes support, but obviously this is very strong resistance in my opinion, especially after this day. So if we go down, then I think gold will be the metric on the way down. So just watch gold and silver will follow. But Obviously, the prior low from down here, 20 point, let's call it 7 or 7.5. And if we flush that, then this horizontal, which should roughly, if I zoom out, equal this ascending, which will probably also be similar to gold's 1740. But actually by then, silver will probably be flushing lower. So if we do lose this 20.7, then I'm going to call it just above 20, basically 20 psychological number. And when you zoom out later and the chart's done its thing, you probably say, yeah, it's within the ascending. You probably just, move the ascending like that, and then it will be, oh yeah, it's 20. So I think 20 on the way down in case we start to flush, which I don't think will happen next week because of the close on Friday and because of what's happening in the Middle East. So let's look on the way up, 20/20.5, I'd say is resistance. Okay, with that said, let's look at the miners. Miners followed the metals. You can see resistance, prior support over here, roughly. So if we go higher, then it's hard to tell because this should be support, but it wasn't really. So maybe round numbers would do it. 28, it's pretty good close actually on Friday. So if we do rally higher, and gold is going to 1880, then I would say, yeah, this horizontal here, 28. And if we go higher, then this descending, this major descending. By the way, this is now irrelevant. I like to clean the chart, and so is this. So, and you can see this horizontal acts as resistance too. So let's be honest, this is the first one to clear 27 point well, let's just say the low, the high of Friday. So 20, just above 27 here, 27.10, and then 28, and then the descending resistance. And then on the way down, the prior low, so it'd be 25.6, the low of these 2 days. And then it's harder to call. This is not so obvious here. And if we're flushing, I'd probably look at gold and silver. I would stop caring about the GDX. And then we've got this sort of gap fill here. So maybe this, it depends what's happening with gold and silver. I would actually look at gold and silver. I don't think the GDX chart is too obvious in terms of support. Once we start flushing this zone, it's probably going to be round numbers. So yeah, 25, this is also a round number. So let's say 25, and then after that, 24, because it's just before the gap fill. But honestly, I would refer to gold even more than silver, gold. So, but otherwise, I would draw a line here, but I'll do it anyway, just for the sake of it. And then GDXJ, I don't like to have too many lines, but I think it still is worthwhile. If we do go down there, people will be watching the gap fill. Go on, I might as well complete all the lines, then it's done. So GDXJ should be very similar. So on the way up, of course, prior resistance. So Friday's resistance over here equals the support zone here, which was also resistance over here. So this line is correct. Then here, support, also prior resistance, it failed that day. So yes, I agree. Over here, this support, these are mini support and resistance lines. So I think they do actually, and they're probably round numbers too, just below 34. Yeah, so first one to clear obviously is Friday's high. If we do go through there, 33, after that, just below 34 should be resistance. And then if, I don't think it will go all the way this high, but then it'll be this resistance here, which to be honest will probably coincide with the descending. So I think all these lines are correct. On the way down, again, the prior support of last week. If we flush that, then yes, big round number, 30, definitely. It's also within the gap fill zone. I feel like this gap fill comes quicker than the GDX, which does happen. So I'll probably add this line here just for the gap fill, which is 29, a nice round number. And then this low. Yeah, pretty simple. Why complicate things when it's pretty simple? Round numbers, nice horizontal lines. There's quite a few there, but I do think they are all credible. So those are your support and resistance. Those are my support and resistance for the miners. Let's go to the portfolio. So obviously we had a nice bounce on Friday. Let's start with Newmont. So Newmont, very strong. You can see it's already reclaimed its local resistance. Also a very strong close. So you can see the next real resistance is actually where it touched. So I'm not going to bother drawing that in because it's so obvious and it closed so close to it that no point in go on, whatever. Let's just be absolutely accurate here. So I think a lot of people have Newmont, so might as well really where it closed. So if we do have a move up, and I think we should have a move up on Monday, especially with the Middle East, and maybe oil moves a lot up actually, because of what happened. So gold might move up with that. So if we keep rallying, 39, yeah, a little bit, but honestly, I would just refer to the descending. I'm not going to bother. Yeah, the descending, which to be honest should equal 40, big round number. Might as well move this on because, and also look at the support over here, and it's a big round number. So for me, resistance, next resistance for Newmont is 40. So how much of a move up is that from where we are? 5%. It could happen. This is a very strong bounce. And remember where we are, and remember what stock we're talking about. This is Newmont. You know, this is probably the biggest miner. So, and it doesn't belong where it is. I mean, it does because the market is always right ultimately. But I think we're going to move up to 40. And I think we could do it next week. I don't know about Monday, but this is very strong and it's set up very well for what's coming. So Newmont resistance 40, it should be strong resistance. It's a big round number. It's this descending. And, we haven't passed it. I mean, we went all the way up to 41, but 40 is the same as 41. So 40 resistance on the way down. Honestly, just last week's low, 35-ish, let's say. I don't see it going past 30 down below 35 on next week. If we do go lower, then it's the COVID lows of 33. Go on, I might as well put it in. It's very obvious. It's a round number. It's also the COVID lows. And what a buy that would be, although I have already nibbled here. So that's Newmont, Barrick Gold. Look at this support right here. I had the lines in. It bounced perfectly. Also around number 14. Very nice reversal hammer. Up, resistance. Why have I got that line there? Yeah, I would say between 15, helps that it's a round number, but really 15.5 is probably the stronger number because it was more recent and it's pivoted there many more times. So 15 to 15.5. I don't know if there's any point in adding extra descending lines. I'll do it anyway. If it does pass 15.5, then by the time it gets there, probably here, just before the gap fills, 16. So 1, 2, 3 mini sells, if that's what you're interested in, to buy back if it goes back down. If we go back down, then 14. I can't really see the scenario where it goes back. Maybe the markets just start to crash next week and everyone sells everything. So that's one thing that would do it, with rates going up, and it could happen, of course. If we flush 14, then the absolute low from down here, very, very obvious for me, is 13, big round number. The COVID low is 12 points. That's the same as 13. So that's the COVID low, This is picking up pennies in front of a steam train, something I've always wanted to say. It's the same thing. So there you go, on the way down, 13, 14, and then 13. On the way up, then 15, 15.5, and then, I don't know, it depends, 16 point something. Agnico-Eagle reclaimed, closed above the support here. If we keep going, let's put the descending in. It always counts. Maybe this zone here, right? This line here was support and resistance to some degree. 47 could be small resistance. I'll add it in anyway. It's not very strong. It's not very obvious, but I don't see anything more obvious around there anyway. So I would say 46.5/47 could be mini sell zone. It's probably best to be looking at gold and the GDX by then, because if they're not near resistance, it'll keep going up. And then if it keeps going higher, the descending. To me, honestly, Agnico-Eagle, what a wonderful stock. So I wouldn't be selling here just to be cute and buy back. I'd probably be watching gold and the GDX charts, because Agnico-Eagle's chart itself is not too obvious and you wouldn't want to sell too early. So probably the descending line is the most obvious. And by then, if it just keeps rising, let's say selling around 49 is probably the first real resistance, the descending. As it goes back down, the prior low, 43-ish. And then after that, yeah, I agree with that, 41. And if it flushes even more, then 38, we'll see. Well, obviously down here, the lows from down here, but what a buy that would be. Pan American Silver, I still haven't read what happened there on Friday. There was some weird story specific to the stock. At least it closed green because it was a good day, but not the best bounce. I think it's still a massive buy. I don't think the news was very damaging to the stock as a company, to the company rather. So it's obviously a very strong support, but it didn't bounce very well. Okay, so next resistance on the way up. Yeah, well, Friday's high, 14. if it keeps going up, does this ascending equal resistance? I don't know. It's too close. Maybe 15, just this high over here, 15. Yeah, between 14.8 and 15. I don't know about this one here. I'll delete that actually. I don't think that's really resistance. I would say 15 is mini resistance, 14.8, 15. Maybe this old ascending, and after that, maybe the gap fill all the way over here. It's not that obvious, this one. Even the descendings are not too obvious. I think I would trade really with the silver and GDX to watch this, but otherwise, maybe just below 15 is the first real resistance. I don't think this ascending will really count, actually. I think it's too close. If it clears this zone, it will easily get up here. So I don't know about the ascending. On the way down, then obviously this 13.5-ish zone. If it flushes 13.5, then it's the COVID lows of 11. My goodness, I will definitely add there just above 11. You don't want to miss that. So yeah, that's Pan America. Wheaton, that bounced wonderfully. Look at that. I mean, very obvious too. So the horizontal over here, 38.5-ish. Resistance should be this sort of zone of support here. So 41. I don't even think 40 would be, well, no, we almost pierced and closed above 40. But of course, Friday's high should be first cleared, so 40. After that, 41 roughly. And then let's see, then there's nothing really obvious. There's this sort of general zone of resistance here. So let's say 40, 45 really is resistance. So it's pretty easy, actually, this one, if you sort of zoom out, trade it roughly. If we flush, though, if we flush 38.5-ish, maybe here, definitely here, 35, the resistance from over here, and also here, and you can see it from back down here. I would say, I'm going to make a very rough support zone because it's Wheaton. I would say something like this, zoom out, it was support. Even if I was to extend it a little bit, it's like resistance, support, kind of support, and then resistance here. Okay, we're off by $1, but it's Wheaton. So probably around 36, 35, if you know what I mean. And if okay, we're not going to flush low to 30, but I would keep it pretty rough with Wheaton. And I'd be watching GDX and gold and silver, of course. Mag silver, trying to reclaim this horizontal, touched it, closed below it. So first resistance is Friday's high, close above that. After that, this descending needs to be readjusted, maybe. Roughly, it's okay. After that, yeah, probably this descending, actually. So let's imagine we just go up in a fury, maybe 11.5-ish. And then on the way down, obviously the low from the week, from last week. And if we go lower than that, looks like I've drawn it already. Yeah, I guess so, 9, and that's a round number. That's very cheap. The COVID lows are absolutely wild. My goodness me, we won't get there in one go. There's probably this on the way, this 7 low from down here. But I agree with that, 9 after losing 9.8. Okay, Fortuna, now we're going into the smaller ones. I need to remember, I've lost some of the silver stocks here. I accidentally deleted. Close that. Okay, right, let's look at Fortuna. Let's just click that. Fortuna, we've got this descending to clear, which we pretty much almost cleared. The next high from over here, you've got to really clear 3.6, 3.8. Yeah, this also was this zone of support over here. So, but I think if we're moving higher, we're going to move higher than just a little bit. So 3.10, but really it's this high over here, 320. I agree with that. Let's not be too zoomed in. On the way down, if we lose the 2.6 zone of support, then we probably will move all the way down to 2.11. Maybe we'll find support just before then. So I kind of agree with the lines already drawn here. EXK, wow, look at this. It closed above this descending. I think this descending is credible. I don't think this zone of resistance is going to count much. 2.5, look where we are, 2.42. We'll probably zoom all the way up to 2.75-ish for EXK. And this one could move quite fast, actually. So it's very cheap, really. I mean, they're all cheap, but this one will definitely move high. So 2.8-ish should be resistance, and then 3. I agree with that. On the way down, if we lose the 2.25-ish low of last week, you can forget this. That would be way too low. Honestly, I'd probably here, this zone of support here, 1.8. Wow. Well, it'll probably stop off at 2, won't it? Probably stop off at 2, but not. Yeah, it could just be an intraday low. Honestly, 1.8 is stronger than 2. So I'm just going to leave that in because it's not obvious. If I'm just looking at the charts very quickly and things are moving fast, I prefer to have the lines in already. Okay, first Majestic. Yeah, you can see it's trying to reclaim this zone. So I would say the first resistance is really this 5.3 zone, you know, resistance here. After that, 5.5, getting back into this ascending. Oh, this is a bit dramatic over here. The next really obvious is 5.8 for me. This high from all the way over here is also support, and then it will equal this descending resistance. Wow, that extends a long time. So 5.8-ish. You know what? 5.8 is the next zone of resistance. I wouldn't play around with these small moves. I think if we move up a lot more. And after 5.8, if we close above 5.8, then we should zoom up to 6.4. On the way down, then it's the low of 4.8 last week. And then if we go lower than that, my goodness, probably 4.3-ish because of these long, and also the low, yeah, the COVID low, 4.3, which will coincide with this massive ascending. So 4.3, I mean, I would buy that for sure. First Majestic. All right, before I forget, CDE. These are stocks that I've accidentally deleted on TradingView. Next resistance, very clear, 2.4. It's the high from over here. It also, by the time it gets there, will be descending resistance. So 2.4, if we close above that, keep going. 2.6, and then we'll see. Then it's open season all the way up to 3 and beyond. On the way down, if you go below 2 is support, then then the COVID low of, well, it's 2 also. My goodness, we hit the low. Yeah, what a buy. And I bought, by the way. And if we go lower, then it will be the low from 2016, 1.7. Wow, 1.7. I'm not even going to draw it because I'll have an alarm on for that. That's CDE Discovery. DSVSF. Wow, this is a steal. Look at this descending support. Just got a dump. Well, whatever. It's pretty much also corresponds with the resistance over here. I bought this at 47. What are we at here? I remember it. 48.51 or something. Yeah. Well, I bought it roughly where it is. Support support should be resistance. So let's say 54-ish. If we close above that, nope, not this. Then probably go all the way up here, 65 by the time, roughly here, right? Probably equal to the high of here. Imagine you just start to squeeze for whatever reason, then I would say, yeah, 64, 65, just before this resistance over here. But that'll be the next one. If you take out the descending and keep going, you've got to take out 70. That's the big one. On the way down, I don't know. I don't know because you were already below this area. Honestly, probably 30. I can't believe it there. Probably 40. Actually, look, it hit that support zone there. Also, it was hard resistance there, and then it zoomed above. So actually, probably 40, and then 30. Every 10-cent increments for me. K92. Look at that. It hit the price, but it actually outperformed on the way down, I think, because it's only recently hit its low from here. So that's okay. So it's bounced off its recent low. On the way up, probably just above 620, and then obviously this will be hard, 650, 660. On the way down, I've got this horizontal. You can see why. Let me go to Gogold, GLGDF, I believe. Another one I accidentally lost. Probably this zone here, $1, of course, and after that, 115-ish. On the way down, this zone, 70 cents. Wow, if it gets there. Yeah. Metalla royalty, a new one I bought. So I bought it at 303. Did I know 294? 294? Whatever, it's the same thing. It's where it is now, give or take a few. First resistance is 310. After that, all the way up here, 340, much bigger. Support from over here also failed to take it out when it was rallying over here. So yeah, 310. If it goes lower, so let's take out 310, then 340, and then of course it'll be $4. Nice round number, also prior support. We'll see what happens. So at this descending, it's just a habit, but we're pretty much at the lows. That's why I bought it. If we go lower, I don't know, probably 250 every 50-cent increments. Just from here, you could see it was resistance. And then when we cleared it back then, it zoomed up and never came back down. Eldorado, I don't own this, but someone asked me to cover it. And these are lines I've had in ages ago. I was looking at a lot of gold stocks. So let's see. You can see the low from here was pretty much support, roughly. If it goes lower, maybe a small dip at 7.8. Let's, yeah, you know, this little zone here. Also, it was over here. I might as well extend it to give it more credibility. After that, depends what's happening to GDX and gold and all that. Maybe $7. And then maybe 660. This sort of zone here should be support. I'll add it in because I'm not going to cover it. I'm not going to look at it daily, let's say, because I don't own it. But I like to try and cover some that other people like. I guess I would leave it like that. On the way up, resistance. That one doesn't work. This one maybe. All the way up, probably this zone, 980. Yeah, 10 is a big number. I think just before 10, 980, I'd sell at 979 just to be sure. A little bit out here, bam. And then if it breaks out, maybe a little bit more, 1019, and then leave it for the big run up here, which coincides with that. I guess, yeah, that'll do. And I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else to cover. I've covered the ones that I've accidentally deleted here. So I'll leave it there. That's the portfolio, the big miners, the juniors, I don't bother. They just have wild moves and sometimes they don't move when they should. Okay, that'll do. Hope that was useful and good luck. And let's see what happens next week. It should be wild as per usual.